Hey guys, Mike here. So pretty much a snooze fest in the market as far as the movement of the indexes, because while you had Jerome Powell testifying, and it was so funny, we did not get a hello candle like we get when he talks on the FOMC days. We did get bye-bye candles. Like immediately, as soon as he shut his mouth, said bye, the market started moving up, and actually, shockingly, it was red then, ended up going, finishing green for the day. It was just funny to watch how he got there at the end of the day. And so in this video, we'll talk about, one, where large amounts of money are going, okay? So not just going into mega caps right now. And so that's kind of a sign to be watching out for. Two, we'll go into the data tomorrow, what they're expecting. Remember, it's CPI day tomorrow, which is another reason. You got there's a lull in the market right here. Because you're sitting at what? In a premium, at more resistance levels and things, which we'll look at on the charts. And then four, of course, we'll get into Tesla because, woo, we talked about that 100 moving average yesterday. Well, maybe it's going for the 200, but we'll look because there was some news that come out. But more importantly, there's just something happening for other companies that didn't happen for Tesla right now. And we'll talk about that. I did a members video on this stuff. Now, when you look at it, here's the weekly fund flows from last week. We know the mega caps normally get it. It's only $3 billion though. You know, we've seen much higher. But what you also saw going in there is what you also saw money going into was investment grade bonds and aggregate bonds, 3.5 billion. What you did not see it going into, you saw it coming out of, was consumer cyclical sectors, non-cyclical sectors, and then small caps. That's why you see IWM hurting, right? Even global, look at global, 1 billion. We know where that was going, right? That's going over there to China, which we'll talk about as well, and I'll show you something to show you what I was talking about and elaborate on what I was talking about yesterday with big money heading into China at this moment. But when you look over the news tomorrow, obviously it's going to change everything today, so I will not be spending a long period of time on a lot of charts. Because when you look at this, obviously you have core CPI, which they're going to be looking at, and then regular CPI. But look at what they're expecting here. Now remember, CPI has been going up since October. It's gone from 2.4 to 2.9. Tomorrow they're expecting that to stop for the first time in a while here. They're expecting it to stay at 2.9. So if it comes in hotter, what's going to happen? Yields are going to come up. Market's probably not going to like it. If it comes in lower, yields are going to dump. IWM is going to rock it. You can have one of those crazy days probably. And then we're heading all-time highs, most likely, if that is the case. Don't forget core, though, okay? Now, looking at the SPY, you can see right now, again, we're in this premium coming back up. There's the 0.79 fibs where we got rejected today. Again, we're below that descending trend line, all that fun stuff. When you look at this, though, what's it doing? It's really wedging right in here, okay? And this will be going tomorrow. One way or the other, this is going to be gone. We're either breaking down, heading back down to fill that gap right down there, or we're heading to new all-time highs, which is only literally less than % away. So that's just kind of the way it is right now. A lot of people hoping CPI comes in a little hotter, so it scares the market down some to buy in a discount and try to ride it back up. That's what some people are doing. That gap down there is only 0.5% away right there. It's probably like 0.75 to get down to that next level, and then less than % away from all-time highs, depending on obviously which way this wants to go tomorrow. Let me know on the bottom what you think is going to happen. I'm curious to see that while I'm thinking about it. Now, look at IWM. Again, what are we doing? Testing this trend line. Once again, we held this, even though it was down today. 10-year was up, okay? But what does this look like to you? Well, to me, looks like a falling wedge, a perfect falling wedge. Look at this. Bring this in here, then we'll go in and look at the indicators. Let's see if it is a falling wedge. Type it in. Oh, look at there. Yep, falling wedge pattern. I don't mean it's going to play out, but look what the target is. Right there, getting us right back to 230.14 again, okay? And so this is how IWM especially love to trade. And so again, if it comes in higher than expected, you're going to see 223, then 220. Obviously, if not, we're going up there to 230. Okay, and that's not even that big a move. We've seen larger moves when CPI came in better than expected. So, and the market's going to find a way to push this thing where it wants to anyway. We all know that. Again, the 10-year yield setting up against resistance. So interesting setup there. You can see that trend line, which was support, now resistance for it. Okay, and so the market's kind of waiting to say, all right, so we're kind of almost right above the trend line of that inverse head and shoulders. So let's see what happens here. That could be what pushes it all the way down. We'll see. Now, you might notice Apple was green today, obviously filling a gap, all that fun stuff. What happened was they just announced news with Baba. They were going to team up, come up with some AI stuff, so it's an AI pump. Okay, it got its pump, and then it kind of just went silent the rest of the day, holding around like a 2% gain. But you look at Baba here, more importantly, you can see this one right here, made it up to the area we marked out. Okay, so we filled the gap, we can take that away, and this was the area we marked out probably a week ago, where it was heading to, and that's where it's got to. Now we get to have fun and see if it's going to get to the top of 117, or when is the higher low going to come in again? Because we already got one higher low, Again, that's how markets moves. Higher highs, got to have higher lows too. So we'll see if we can get to the top before it does that or after. But you can see what I was talking about, like David Tepper, right? He's a billionaire, has a lot of money, $6 billion to push around. You can see Baba. He added that one. He added Amazon, PDD, JD. Like he's got all these bubbies. And look what he did. Reduced in Amazon, reduced in Alphabet, reduced in Meta of all things, reduced in Oracle. And then what did he do? He added all the Chinese stuff. So he's doing pretty done good, and he's very happy about this, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind. When you go over here and look at Tesla, oof, that's all you can say. We said watch out for the 100. It likes to go to it or below it. Well, right now it's below it. And some news hit this morning about Chinese EV leader BYD to offer God's eye self-driving system. You know, again, they'll use the news how they want to do it and everything, but I'll talk about that more in just a second. You can see there's a small gap right here. We filled the other gap. There's a small gap right here as well. These little small gap ups it did. And obviously that could be where it's heading. We'll see if that's what it wants to do or not. If I go to a 4 hour, you can see it a whole lot better. So right there, we'll see if that's where it's going to head to and fill or not. Again, below it is going to be your golden pocket as well. It's oversold on all the smaller time frames, so do not be surprised for a bounce on this one. We'll have to watch the options market especially. We talked about if NVIDIA is moving, which it was green for most of the day, even though it sold off at the end of the day. Again, Tesla just doesn't move, and obviously this one right here, you have to watch the 200. The 200 sitting right there on a weekly fair value gap, which is liquidity. It loves to suck down into those and come back eventually. And then there is the 0.79 fib as well, and the 200. I ain't saying it's going straight down, but if this continues and they don't come out with some kind of AI news, then you could absolutely see it get there. And of course, you know, right there is 100 above, so that will be resistance. Again, you get all kinds of fair value gaps left behind. So even if it gets an oversold bounce, you still have to get through this stuff right here. And that's not even a big move back up, right? I mean, we're talking 2 to 6% to get to right around 350 right there, if I believe it is, which is the 0.5 fib. If it retraces back up, but don't be surprised. Again, if it's what it is, more than anything else, when you see news, it is an oversold bounce because the RSI is oversold on every single smaller time frame right now. And I mean, you move down 7%, that's going to happen, right? And so you get above this trend line right here. Again, it's all for nothing. But when it comes to Tesla, like this is what happens when I talked about weeks and weeks ago, and I've seen it many times and it upsets people. But when your whole thing is made of hopes and dreams and, you know, I back the president, so here we go, and then all of a sudden you see EV credits maybe going away and all this other stuff going away, that's a big deal. And I actually was curious, and I was going to ask you guys, so I like your opinions. I've never bought an EV car. I've thought about it many times. And so I asked some of our members, like, hey, you know, when you bought your EV, was the tax credit something that, you know, part of the equation? And they're like, yeah, absolutely was. Plus they had other discounts going on. So they say like 10 grand or something buying that car. It's cheaper than buying a traditional car. And so I apologize, a plane or military aircraft going overhead. But, you know, when you bought yours, like, was that part of the equation? And if there was no EV tax credit, would you have bought it? That's what I'm curious about. You know, I'm just curious to see it. But again, this is based on, you know, robo-taxis and androids or humanoids, whatever they're called, and all that fun stuff. Well, we know we're not getting the humanoids this year, right? Because they said if they do it, it's going to be in their factory, so that's off the table for now. So now it's about how this autonomous taxi stuff goes in Austin, and that ain't until June. So you already saw earnings. They didn't miss by just a smidgen. They missed by a lot. And so, you know, I think some news came out the other day, or a couple of days ago, and they said, well, they increased their Bitcoin reserves, because if you notice when they accounted for, if I'm not mistaken, I think I read this, but I read so much stuff I get mixed up sometimes, that part of the whole numbers that made it look halfway decent was the fact that their Bitcoin holdings were up so much, and so they added to that. So that's a plus, I guess. But I think the other thing you read more about is just Elon Musk is distracted everywhere else, right? He's running like God knows how many companies now, because he's got private companies, right? He's got SpaceX, which I told you guys a long time ago. He loves that more than anything else. He's all of a sudden looking through the Treasury payment system, doing that, you know. And so where's the news going to come from? What's going to happen? They need something because they don't have earnings for a long time, and the numbers coming out of China for them, it just hadn't been good. So they need a turnaround. That's what they need. And when your evaluation is based off of that, and what I was about to say, I almost forgot to say it was, money's going to shift, right? So money's shifting into China. We'll see if it's going to keep going. But the other thing is, look what NVIDIA, Avgo, I should remember video and stuff, Taiwan Semiconductors and ASML, right? They've been going up. Why have they been going up? They got this almost identical patterns. Why have they been going up? Because it ain't based off hopes and dreams. They just had all the Mag 8 report. You got Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Meta, even Tesla was talking about this. But their CapEx is going up. It's going up a lot. Billions and billions going into AI, right? Well, you got to buy the chips. In order for the chips to be designed and made for Taiwan Semiconductors, got to have the equipment, right? ASML. And then what did the EU just announced yesterday? $206 billion they're going to start putting into trying to catch up with China and the U.S. on the AI front. Means you got to have chips. Got to have equipment to make the chips, right? Got to have Taiwan Semiconductors make them. They make 80 to 90% of all the chips anyway. So there you go, right? And so that's why money's going in there. They're going, oh, okay, that's not hopes and dreams. That's actually happening. That money has been allotted. It's in the budgets and everything else. Say, this is what we're doing. Okay. And also, when your stock is at the mercy of the options market, and that's what drives Tesla, and we've seen it many times. And it was, I think it was number one as far as bearish. So it was driving it all right. But seriously, for it to go up, man, I told you, I kind of showed you, got to have those call sweeps. That ain't happening right now. All right, that stuff's been going to Palantir and NVIDIA and Avgo and all these others, but it ain't been going to Tesla. And so that's another thing. When you're in this downtrend and the options market's like, I think we'll just keep pushing you down. That's a problem too. So you got to see the options market get behind it again and start pushing it back up, okay? Now, and again, let me know your opinion on the whole thing. Now, I'm looking at Shop. We talked about this when they reported earnings, and let me just show you. This is a prime example of what I'm talking about. How they will run something down to a discount and then buy it back up. Look at this. Ends up just dropping like a rock. Boom. And they want to kill your premiums, by the way. I forgot what the expected move was, but this thing drops, right? And without even looking at it, you can already tell. I say, boy, I bet you if I draw a fib on this thing, from a high to low, you're going to be in a freaking discount for sure. And so you get it up here, boom, we drop it down. I don't care if you go here or you want to go to the other swing low. I don't care where you go. Either way, it's a massive discount. And then they just buy it right back up. Away we go. Okay, I'm going to show you SMCI. Same thing happened right there. But, where is it going from here? Again, when we look at this ascending trend line, I'm actually going to adjust it because you can see if I pull it up to where it's just the points here, that's where it actually got rejected at. Again, it's also in a what? Weekly fair value gap. And it wasn't, and the earnings were not bad or anything, which is kind of funny. But, they just sold it down to buy it back up. So we'll see if it's going to get above this. It's in the weekly fair value gap, so I'm not expecting like some gigantic moves. This is usually when it mitigates a big fair value gap like this, it slows down. Just see if you can get above that ascending trend line where it's at now. SMCI, look at this move. It was already in what? In a major premium of 66% in 7 days. So what they just do when they reported earnings? Sold that puppy down. Now you got your 20% move to the downside, all right. And so if I pull this down here first, I'm going to put this right there, and then we'll go in and look at what happened in extended hours. Look at that right there. Boom. Down the golden pocket. Sucked it right back up. It's flat as I'm doing this. I don't know where it's at now. And so you got a 20% move down. Too bad you couldn't get rid of the options. And so this is called let's kill premiums. Unless they say something on the call, it could go up 20%, could go back down 20%. But again, if you wake up in the morning, you need this thing to go at least like 20% or more. Okay, that's the expected move. So up 46, 84. Because remember, those calls and puts, I think like the IV was like 275, 275% last time I looked. And again, if they say something stupid, maybe it drops back down. So if you got calls or puts, hope that works out for you. But again, look at what they did. It was the guidance on this one. They ended up missing the second quarter revenue, but then forecast revenue to between 5 to 6 billion compared to 6.09 billion. Cut fiscal year 2025 revenue forecast to between 23.5 to 25 billion. Projected 26 to 30. So nice little haircut there. So that's not good. I'm surprised they're not down more, to be honest with you. But speaking of earnings for tomorrow, really nothing in the morning besides CVS. But in the afternoon, you're looking at Robinhood, and then you got Cisco and Trade Desk. So watch out for those. Some other phones on Thursday, but that's all you got for tomorrow. And again, you'll have Jerome Powell speaking again as well. He'll be testifying all day. But the CPI data, what's all about, guys. So anyway, let me know how you made out today. And if there's other questions I ask you, please hit the like, subscribe button on your way out. Think about signing up for the membership, less than McDonald's combo. And I will see you guys tomorrow.